Welcome back. Let me start with a question that might make your heart skip a beat. What if the single most overlooked item in your entire home isn't a piece of jewelry, a family heirloom, or an investment property, but a tiny copper coin sitting quietly in a jar, a drawer, or even in the glove compartment of your car? And what if that coin, a 1969 Lincoln penny, could be worth more than most people's houses? As much as $969,000, and in extremely rare cases, even millions. Hard to believe. That's exactly what makes this story so powerful. For years, collectors, treasure hunters, and everyday Americans walked past these pennies without a second thought. You've probably spent hundreds of them over your lifetime. But times have changed. The market has changed. And the demand for ultra-rare pennies, especially rarer varieties, has reached a point where one lucky discovery can change your financial future forever. This isn't a fantasy. This is a real opportunity hiding in plain sight. Before we dive deeper, let's address something many people wonder. Why would a simple copper penny from 1969 suddenly command life-changing money? To answer that, we need to step back into the story, because this coin's journey is one of mystery, scarcity, and sheer luck. And ironically, while the Philadelphia version of the 1969 double die is the well-known $1 million star, the 1969 D mint mark has its own story. One filled with rare misprints, limited survivors, and a market that rewards the few collectors who understand what to look for. You might be reaching for your coin jar already, but hold on. Let the story unfold first. Because understanding what makes these coins valuable is the key to knowing whether you're holding pocket change or a fortune. And trust me, you don't want to miss the details. One wrong assumption could make you spend a coin worth a luxury home. It begins in the late 1960s, a time when the US Mint was producing billions of pennies. Machines were fast, quality control wasn't always perfect, and the Denver Mint, marked by the small d beneath the year, was pushing out coins at incredible speed. With that speed came errors, very small, very scarce, and incredibly valuable to collectors today. One of the most coveted errors involves doubling. Tiny distortions in the lettering, the date, or the word liberty. On a normal penny, everything looks clean. On the rare ones, letters appear doubled or shadowed. That doubling is what pushes collectors into bidding wars that can send prices skyrocketing to figures like $969,000. Imagine holding a penny like that in your hand. You turn it under a light, and suddenly, the date looks strange. The letters seem to echo. Your pulse rises. Is this the one? People have found them by accident, while rolling pennies, while cleaning out old cans, and even while sorting the pocket change from an estate sale. Life-changing money discovered in the most ordinary moments. It almost sounds like a movie. Yet these discoveries happen to real people. Of course, not every 1969 D penny is worth a fortune. Far from it. But here's the truth that many sellers don't realize. The right error, even a subtle one, can catapult the value beyond anything you'd expect for a coin you could have picked up off the sidewalk. And with buyers constantly searching for high-grade examples with sharp details, certain condition levels can push the price into the hundreds of thousands. That $969,000 record price? It wasn't a fluke. It was the result of rarity meeting demand in the perfect market moment. The fear of missing out is real here. Too many people have thrown away small fortunes simply because they didn't know what they had. Think about how many pennies you've spent, lost, or ignored throughout your life. Any one of them could have been a treasure. That little jolt of panic you're feeling? That's the same emotion that has driven thousands of collectors back to their coin jars. And for good reason. But there's excitement too, because once you know what to look for, you'll never see pennies the same way again. The doubling on the date, the thickness of the letters, the clarity of the mint mark. These tiny signs are like a secret code left behind by the minting machines of the past. And only a few people in the world truly recognize them. You're now becoming one of those people. As we travel through this story, the real question becomes, what makes the value rise so dramatically? Part of it is condition. A coin with minimal scratches, full original luster, and strong stamping can demand a premium that multiplies its value many times over. Collectors want coins that look nearly untouched by time. Some even send their coins for grading, where professional evaluators assign an official condition score that can dramatically raise the market price. A high grade, Rare error 1969, D penny? That's where the $969,000 figure becomes possible. And the urgency is real. The market for rare coins is hotter than ever. Investors, collectors, and wealthy buyers are hunting aggressively for coins that have both rarity and historical appeal. As wealth moves into collectibles like art, cars, precious metals, and rare coins, the value of these pennies continues to rise. Waiting too long could mean missing the strongest seller's market in decades. But here's something most people never consider. The story behind the coin is part of its value. Every rare penny is a frozen moment in time, a minting mistake that slipped through unnoticed and survived for more than 50 years against all odds. Think about how many coins get damaged, melted, lost, or destroyed. The survivors are rare, and the elite survivors, those with perfect errors and excellent condition, are almost mythical. At this point, you might wonder how many of these million-dollar level 1969 D pennies exist. The answer is simple: far fewer than collectors wish. Some experts estimate that only a handful with the proper characteristics exist in the highest grade. And that gives your search meaning. You're not just looking for a coin. You're stepping into a treasure hunt, one where every penny has a story and one of them could rewrite your own. Now imagine this scenario. You're sorting through an old box from a family member, half-used notebooks, old receipts, a dusty jar of pennies. You pour them out, expecting nothing more than nostalgia. But then one coin looks different, a little off. The lettering is strange. You squint. You turn it. Your breath catches. Could this be it? What would you do in that moment? Sell it instantly? Hold it as an investment? Or call every coin dealer within 100 miles to verify your discovery? That's the cliffhanger moment that keeps people fascinated by rare pennies. The possibility, the what if, the excitement of transforming something ordinary into something extraordinary. And here's a small humorous truth to lighten the tension. Most people spend more time checking the expiration dates on their ketchup bottles than checking their spare change. Yet only one of those things can make you wealthy. As we move toward the end of this journey, let's shift from possibility to action. Because dreaming about wealth is one thing, but seizing the opportunity is another. If you want to discover whether you have one of these rare 1969 D treasures, start by sorting through your coins. Look carefully at the date. Check the mint mark. Examine the letters under a bright light or even a simple magnifying glass. If anything looks doubled, distorted, or thicker than normal, you may have something special. If you find a coin worth evaluating, do not clean it. Do not polish it. Even a small cleaning scratch can erase thousands of dollars in value. Instead, store it gently and have it reviewed by a reputable coin grader. They can determine whether your penny qualifies as one of the rare high-value varieties that collectors compete for. Remember, fortune doesn't always come to those who wait. Sometimes it comes to those who look carefully, intentionally, and with the mindset of someone ready for a breakthrough. And with today's market, the timing has never been better. As you finish this video, ask yourself the question that started it all. What if your next rare penny isn't a dream, but a discovery waiting in your own home? What if the moment that changes your financial life forever is sitting right in front of you, disguised as the smallest piece of money we use? Hold on to that thought, because your story might be the next one people talk about when they say, "Someone just found $1 million penny." And wouldn't that be the kind of wealth shift you've been waiting for? Imagine waking up one ordinary morning, reaching into an old jar of pennies, and discovering a coin so rare that collectors are willing to pay nearly $1 million for it. Now imagine that coin is one you've walked past your entire life. The 1977 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny. A coin that most Americans would never even look at twice. But today, that tiny copper disc is rewriting financial destinies. And for some lucky owners, it has brought life-changing wealth. Sounds unbelievable? That's exactly why you should stay with this video until the very end. Because by the time we finish, you'll know how a simple pocket change penny could be worth up to millions of dollars, with current top-tier sales reaching a staggering $977,000. But before we dive into the dazzling numbers and the jaw-dropping sales, there's a deeper story behind this humble coin, one that speaks to time, chance, and the quiet power of the everyday objects we overlook. The journey of the 1977 penny begins like every other coin of its era. Mass-produced, easily ignored, destined for soda machines and grocery store counters. Almost no one imagined that this year, this design, would someday spark an intense frenzy among collectors. After all, how valuable can a penny with no mint mark really be? Isn't that the normal version? The common one? That's what most people thought. And that very belief is what created the opportunity of a lifetime for those who held on to them. Because the truth is, not all 1977 pennies are created equal. Some were struck with extraordinary precision. Some display errors so rare they exist in microscopic numbers. And a few were preserved in pristine condition, untouched, uncirculated, and shimmering with the exact same brilliance they had the moment they left the presses. Those are the pennies that changed everything. But let's pause for a moment. What if one of these ultra-rare coins is already in your home? What if it's sitting in a drawer, inside an old envelope, behind a picture frame, or hidden at the bottom of a coin jar you haven't touched in years? How many times have you moved houses, cleaned out storage, or donated old belongings without realizing a potential fortune slipped through your fingers? Funny, isn't it? One day you're throwing pennies out of your car cup holder. The next day someone is selling one of those same pennies for nearly $1 million. Today, collectors are aggressively pursuing the highest grade examples of the 1977 no-mint mark penny, and they're paying premium prices. The best preserved versions have sold at auction for up to $977,000. That's not a typo. That's not a myth. That's a documented market trend driven by rarity, condition, demand, and the unstoppable momentum of numismatic investment. But what makes this penny so special? Why 1977? Why no mint mark? The answer lies in a perfect storm of history, economics, and preservation. In 1977, the Philadelphia Mint didn't use mint marks on pennies, but what makes certain coins from that year extraordinary is the razor-sharp detail, flawless color, high luster, and the nearly impossible preservation quality found in only a small handful. Coins that survived untouched for decades in sealed sets, hidden collections, or forgotten rolls. Imagine a penny that sat in the dark for 48 years, never handled, never dropped, never exposed to sweat, oils, or sunlight. A coin like that becomes a treasure. But the real excitement comes from the errors. Off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchets, and exceptionally strong impressions can transform a common penny into a high-value rarity. And some of these errors are so scarce that only a few are known to exist. Fewer known examples means higher competition. Higher competition means skyrocketing prices. And skyrocketing prices? Well, that means life-changing wealth for anyone lucky enough to find one. At this point, you might be wondering if you have any of these valuable varieties. The truth is, you won't know until you look. And that is where opportunity lives. Many people never check. They assume pennies are worthless. They assume rarity is a once-in-a-million chance. But the real tragedy is not the rarity, it's the lack of awareness. The wealth is already out there. The question is whether you will be the person who takes action or the person who keeps scrolling and forgets. Something magical happens when people begin re-examining their old coin collections. It's like uncovering a time capsule filled with potential. That jar in your closet, that box in your attic, they might not just hold pennies, they might hold possibilities. Think of it as your own personal treasure chest. It's almost funny how many people buy lottery tickets every week while ignoring the pile of old coins already sitting in their homes. Imagine telling your friends, "Yeah, I won the wealth lottery with a penny." They'd laugh. And you'd laugh too. All the way to the bank. As we continue, it's important to understand that the value of the 1977 penny doesn't come only from condition or errors. It comes from the story. The idea that something as ordinary as a penny can hold extraordinary value. That the smallest objects in our lives can become symbols of opportunity. The kind of opportunity that doesn't require luck, but curiosity, attention, and timing. Collectors in today's market are actively hunting for high-grade examples. They want the brightest reds, the sharpest strikes, the cleanest surfaces. They want the pennies that appear frozen in time. That demand drives prices higher every year. Auctions for rare 1977 pennies continue to attract aggressive bidding wars. And when a coin crosses the block in immaculate condition, the numbers get shocking. hundreds of thousands, nearly 1 million, in the rarest cases, even 7-figure potential. Now here's the part that keeps collectors awake at night. The belief that more undiscovered gems are still in circulation. That somewhere out there, in a jar, in a drawer, in a forgotten roll inside a dusty basement, sits the next big discovery. And maybe, just maybe, that discovery belongs to you. Which brings us to an uncomfortable but necessary question. What happens if you don't check? What happens if someone else finds the fortune sitting in your home? Imagine the feeling of learning that a penny identical to one you once owned sold for nearly $1 million. A mix of regret and wait, what? That could stick with you forever. Fear can be a powerful motivator. And sometimes, fear of missing out is exactly what we need to take action. But the excitement is just as powerful. Because when you hold a coin like this, you're not just holding copper. You're holding history. You're holding possibility. You're holding the chance to change your financial future without selling a house, without working overtime, without investing in complicated schemes. Just a penny. A single, simple penny. And that's why collectors, investors, and everyday Americans are paying closer attention than ever. Because opportunities like this don't repeat themselves. Once the known high-grade examples surface, once they're graded, sold, and locked into private collections, the window narrows. And when that window closes, it closes permanently. So the real question is, will you act before the opportunity disappears? Before we reach the end, let me leave you with a cliffhanger worth thinking about. One of the most valuable 1977 pennies ever discovered came not from a collector, not from a professional, not from a lifelong numismatist, but from an ordinary person who decided to look closely at a coin they almost threw away. The next story like that could be yours. And if you're wondering whether your coins could hold something extraordinary, whether your penny jar is actually a treasure chest waiting to be opened, ask yourself this. If a single 1977 penny can be worth $977,000 today, what might it be worth tomorrow as demand grows and supply shrinks? Imagine discovering that the plain old penny sitting in the back of your drawer, the one you haven't looked at twice in decades, could be worth more than a luxury home. Sounds impossible, right? Yet today, one small copper-plated coin, the 1985 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny, is shaking the numismatic world with a staggering market value reaching as high as $985,000. And what's even more unbelievable is that thousands of these coins are still hiding in homes across America. Maybe in yours. Maybe even within arm's reach right now. Welcome to a journey that might just turn an overlooked coin into a life-changing opportunity. If you're someone who wants to sell forgotten treasures, unlock hidden wealth, and move toward a more comfortable, even wealthy lifestyle, this is not a video you want to click away from. In fact, you might want to check your change jar the moment we're done. But not yet. What you're about to hear may change your perspective on every penny you've ever held. It all starts back in 1985. A year of transition, innovation, and quiet change in American coinage. Millions of Lincoln cents rolled out from the Denver Mint, each bearing the familiar D Mint mark. Most were ordinary. Most were spent. Most lived short, uneventful lives in pockets, purses, and parking meters. But a handful, a very tiny handful, were different. They carried microscopic flaws, unexpected variations, or striking conditions so pristine that they became legendary. These outliers, these almost mythical exceptions, are now commanding life-altering prices. Now imagine this. Someone discovers one of these exceptional 1985 D pennies in a dusty box or an old jar and sells it for nearly $1 million. What if the next story like that features you? Sounds exciting, or maybe terrifying. Because what if you already had one and unknowingly spent it on a cup of coffee? That's the fear collectors know well. And that fear is exactly what fuels the urgency to check, to search, and to learn the hidden signs that separate an ordinary penny from an extraordinary fortune. The truth is, rare coins don't shout their value. They whisper it, quietly, through tiny details, subtle errors, and unexpected precision. The 1985 D penny owes its sky-high value to a combination of high-grade condition, rare minting anomalies, and the intense competitive demand among elite collectors. Some of these coins exhibit remarkable die varieties, such as doubling, off-center strikes, or the kind of crisp, untouched luster that only happens when a coin has avoided human handling for nearly 4 decades. But here's the twist. Not every valuable coin looks unusual. Some of the most expensive 1985 D pennies appear completely normal to the untrained eye. They're the wolves in sheep's clothing, the quiet millionaires, the ones you'd toss into a tip jar without a second thought. And that's what makes this coin so fascinating and so dangerous to ignore. Because the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth $985,000 could be something so subtle you'd need guidance to recognize it. Collectors and dealers alike say the 1985 D penny is one of the most deceptive sleepers in modern coinage. And why wouldn't it be? It's from a decade most people don't consider old. It's a year that feels modern. It's a coin we associate with everyday life, not generational wealth. Yet here we are, seeing record-breaking prices at auctions and private sales that redefine what a common coin can mean for someone's financial future. But as surprising as these values are, what's even more important is understanding the forces behind them. Rarity is just one part. Condition drives the highest premiums. A coin graded at the top of the scale, MS67, MS68 or higher, plunges into a new category of desirability. There are collectors who spend years hunting, and when they finally find the perfect specimen, they pay whatever it takes. And when competition heats up, prices follow. That's how the $985,000 figure came to be. Passion collided with scarcity, and value skyrocketed. This is where many people start asking themselves a crucial question. How do I know if my 1985 D penny is one of these rare gems? You might be thinking that you're not an expert, or that grading sounds complicated, or that the process is intimidating. But the truth is, anyone can learn the basics. You don't need magnifying glasses, lab coats, or a secret membership to some underground coin society. You just need awareness and the willingness to look closely. Start with a simple rule. Never assume a coin has no value just because it looks normal. Many of the most valuable coins ever sold were found by ordinary people. Someone cleaning out a closet, someone sorting through inherited items, someone who simply decided to check a few old coins before giving them away. Your opportunity starts the moment you take your coins seriously. Look for crisp detail, sharp lettering, consistent surface shine, and the absence of scratches or wear. Look for doubling around the date or mint mark. Look for unusual thickness, off-center design, or raised elements. Even a tiny variation can transform your coin's worth. And if you think you've found something interesting, that's where professional grading comes in. It's the doorway between possibility and certainty. But here's the cliffhanger. Even among coins that look flawless, only a microscopic fraction qualify for the highest values. That's what keeps collectors on edge. That's what makes your search thrilling. Because the process is unpredictable, and the reward is enormous. People often underestimate what a single discovery can mean. A rare penny sale doesn't just add money to your bank account. It can pay off debt, upgrade a lifestyle, fund travel, or give you breathing room you didn't have before. For some people, one coin sale has completely reshaped their financial story. And all because they decided to look a little closer. But the window of opportunity doesn't stay open forever. As more of these high-value 1985 D pennies are found and graded, the market gradually stabilizes. Scarcity changes, prices shift, and those who wait too long may find themselves observing history instead of participating in it. If you've been holding on to old coins for years, or if you've inherited collections you haven't inspected carefully, now is the moment to act. Not tomorrow, not next year, right now. Wealth loves speed, after all. The excitement is real, but so is the urgency. Because somewhere out there, maybe in a shoebox, maybe in your kitchen drawer, maybe sitting inside an old jar in a garage, a 1985 D penny is silently waiting. And the next person who discovers one might be the next person to walk away with nearly $1 million. A life-changing amount for something that once cost just 1 cent. The question you'll be left with when this video ends is simple. Will that person be someone else? Or will it be you? The answer depends entirely on whether you decide to take action. Success doesn't favor the hesitant. It favors the curious, the bold, and the ones who look where others never bother to. So take a breath. Let the possibilities sink in, and then start your search. Because you never know what hidden fortune is already in your possession. And when the next record-breaking 1985 D penny hits the auction block, someone's life will change in an instant. Maybe this time that change can be yours. And before you rush off, remember this: wealth doesn't just appear. It reveals itself to those who are ready to see it. Keep your eyes open, keep your coins close, and never underestimate the power of a single penny. Welcome back. Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old jar of loose change, and discovering that a single penny, a coin worth just 1 cent on paper, could actually change the entire direction of your financial future. Sounds unbelievable, right? But that is exactly what's happening across America as rare coins like the 1991 Lincoln penny begin skyrocketing in value, with some astonishing examples reaching market prices as high as $991,000. Yes, you heard that right. A penny worth nearly $1 million. And no, you don't need a treasure map, just the right coin in your hand. Most people overlook pennies. They toss them in drawers, drop them in parking lots, or ignore them at the bottom of an old handbag. But those tiny discs of copper-plated zinc hold stories, secrets, and in some cases, the kind of wealth that could help you pay off your home, retire early, or fund a dream lifestyle. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most shocking examples, the 1991 Mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin that most people walk past without a second thought. But for those who know what to look for, this little piece of metal holds the kind of potential that keeps collectors awake at night. Before we unravel why this penny has soared into the realm of million-dollar value, let's take a moment to understand what makes any common coin transform into life-changing money. Rare coins follow a predictable pattern: scarcity, demand, historical anomalies, and condition. But every once in a while, a specific year and mint mark delivers something truly extraordinary. The 1991 penny, struck in Denver, has become that silent superstar of the coin world. And the more its story spreads, the more the value continues to climb. Now, you might be wondering what exactly pushes a penny like this close to $1 million. Well, here's where things get exciting and a little terrifying. Not all 1991 pennies are valuable. Only a select few carry the traits, errors, and conditions that give them elite status. The vast majority, they're still worth 1 cent. So the fear of missing out is real. The urgency is real. Because every day, people unknowingly spend, drop, or give away coins that could have funded their dreams. Let's start peeling back the layers. The Denver Mint in 1991 produced billions of pennies, which makes the valuable ones even more elusive. What collectors are hunting for are the ultra-rare errors, double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and the nearly mythical high-grade examples that survive circulation untouched. A nearly perfect condition 1991 penny graded at the highest levels can fetch jaw-dropping prices, simply because so few exist. It's like finding a perfectly preserved piece of history in your change jar. And the suspense doesn't stop there. One of the biggest reasons the 1991 penny has surged toward the $1 million mark is the extreme rarity of pristine specimens. Think about it. Pennies get tossed around, scraped across surfaces, rubbed against keys, and buried under piles of other coins. A penny surviving 3 decades without damage? That's like expecting a paper napkin to survive a hurricane. Yet a few have, and those survivors are now the financial equivalent of buried treasure. But here's a cliffhanger worth considering. What if the next life-changing penny is already sitting in someone's house right now, waiting to be discovered? Could it be in your home, your car, a forgotten box in the attic? Viewers have written in countless stories. Someone discovering a rare penny inside a childhood piggy bank. Someone else finding one lodged between couch cushions. The universe has a sense of humor when it comes to wealth. Sometimes it really does hide in plain sight. As you hold that thought, let's talk condition. The grading scale is critical. For a 1991 penny to approach the $991,000 mark, it must be in virtually flawless condition. We're talking sharp edges, perfect strike, clean surfaces, and no visible wear. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and one worth nearly $1 million often comes down to tiny details, the kind you'd need a magnifier to see. It's almost poetic how something so small can separate everyday pocket change from generational wealth. And speaking of generational wealth, this is where emotion meets opportunity. Think about what you could do with nearly $1 million. Clear your debts, help your family, launch a business, buy property, travel the world, or simply enjoy the peace of mind that financial freedom brings. It's not just a penny. It's a possibility, one that becomes more real the more you learn about these rare coins. But let's keep the adrenaline going. There's another twist in this story. Beyond errors and condition, 1991 D pennies with certain visual traits, unusually strong strikes, mint-made anomalies, or unique tonal patterns have started gaining attention in auctions. Collectors love uniqueness. They pay fortunes for it. And once word spreads that a specific variation exists, the prices rise fast. That's exactly what happened here. A growing wave of demand met a tiny supply of qualifying coins, and suddenly the market exploded. Of course, this raises a critical question. How do you know if you have one of these rare treasures? The answer is simpler than you think. Start by gathering all your old coins, especially anything minted between the 1960s and early 2000s. Examine each penny closely. Look for the D-mint mark under the year 1991. Then check the condition. Does it look unusually sharp, clean, unworn? Any doubling in the letters or numbers? Any unusual marks that look intentional rather than damaged? These are the clues. And if any coin seems too perfect, set it aside and get it evaluated professionally. Now let me add a touch of humor to ease the intensity. If you find yourself staring at your pennies with a magnifying glass for an hour straight, congratulations. You've officially joined the most exciting hobby in America. But don't worry, you're in good company. Here's where things get even more thrilling. Once a rare penny like the 1991 D hits the auction market, the bidding environment can become fierce. Wealthy collectors, investors, and numismatic experts compete for ownership, driving the price upward. The emotional energy of these auctions is electric. One moment, a coin is valued at a few $1,000s. And in the blink of an eye, it hits hundreds of thousands. And sometimes, as we've seen, it approaches that magical $991,000 mark. But why now? Why are penny values exploding at this moment in history? Economic uncertainty, inflation, the rising interest in tangible assets, and a growing wave of retiree collectors all contribute. People want security. They want investments they can hold in their hand. And rare coins offer exactly that. A blend of history, beauty, scarcity, and wealth. The result is surging demand, especially for coins with legendary status. And that brings us back to our original cliffhanger. Could the next 1991 D penny worth nearly $1 million still be out there, undiscovered? Many experts believe so. There are still unsearched jars, forgotten collections, and old boxes filled with coins that have never been inspected by anyone with knowledge. Which means the opportunity is real. The window is open. But it won't stay open forever. If you've been thinking about selling old coins, now is one of the most powerful moments in history to act. Not just because prices are rising, but because the world is finally paying attention. Collectors are hungry. Welcome back. Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old drawer, and realizing that the smallest thing you own, a single forgotten penny, could be worth nearly $1 million. Sounds impossible, right? Yet every single year, ordinary Americans uncover rare 1-cent coins that transform their financial future. And today, we're diving into one of the most shocking examples of hidden value in plain sight. The 1995 D Lincoln penny, a coin with a current market value reaching up to $995,000. Yes, a penny that could be worth more than your home. But before you doubt it, stay with me. What you learn in the next few minutes may change the way you look at every coin you touch from this day forward. And who knows, maybe the next life-changing coin is already sitting somewhere in your house. This story doesn't begin with collectors or experts. It begins with everyday people, just like you, clearing out old boxes, sorting through inherited jars of coins, or checking spare change while waiting in line for coffee. No fanfare, no expectations, until something catches their eye. A date that seems too clean, a mint mark that seems slightly off, a shine that doesn't feel ordinary. The kind of moment where your intuition whispers, "Hold on, something's different here." Most people ignore that whisper, but the ones who listen, those are the ones who win. The 1995 D Lincoln penny may look simple. A copper-plated zinc coin, produced by the Denver Mint like millions of others. But within this year, this mint mark, and certain extraordinarily rare variations, lies a secret that only a handful of people even realize exists. A tiny error, a subtle anomaly, a nearly impossible-to-find strike that turns a 1-cent coin into the kind of treasure that can rewrite financial destiny. And here's the part that makes collectors lean forward and sellers feel their heartbeats speed up. Almost none of these ultra-rare 1995 D pennies were intentionally saved. That means the majority of survivors are still hidden, waiting in forgotten tins, rolled inside old paper sleeves, tucked into the corners of kitchen drawers, or mixed in with decades-old change. If you feel a tiny surge of excitement or a pulse of fear like, what if I threw one away? Don't worry. That reaction is perfectly normal. It just means you're recognizing opportunity. Every wealth story begins with awareness. And this awareness begins with knowing what separates a $1 million 1995 D penny from an ordinary one. To understand the value, we need to rewind to the moment this coin was created. The 1990s were an era of high-speed production at the Denver Mint. Billions of pennies were struck, and with high volume comes high pressure, literally and figuratively. Dies wore out unexpectedly. Machines misaligned. Edges blurred. And every once in a while, a coin left the mint not quite the way it was intended. A doubled image. An uncommon strike. A misplaced detail that shouldn't exist. Now, most mint errors are minor and barely noticeable. But every so often, a coin emerges that is so unusual, so distinct, and so exceedingly rare that collectors start chasing it like a shark sensing blood in the water. That's where the unbelievable valuations come from. Supply almost zero. Demand extremely high. And when you combine rarity with desperation from collectors wanting to complete their sets, prices skyrocket. You may wonder, how does a coin go from 1 cent to nearly $1 million? The answer is simple. Scarcity creates obsession, and obsession creates value. One collector once joked, "If only my ex chased me the way coin collectors chase rare pennies." And honestly, he wasn't wrong. Imagine a coin so rare that only a few perfect examples are verified to exist. Imagine collectors competing, auction houses buzzing, private buyers offering 6 figures before a coin even reaches the bidding floor. That's the world of the high-grade 1995 D Lincoln penny. But here's the twist, the part that hooks people and keeps them searching. These coins were never distributed in special sets. They weren't released with fanfare. They simply slipped into circulation like any ordinary coin. Which means the next person who discovers one could be you. Now picture this. Someone finds one of these coins inside an old jar inherited from their grandfather. They think it's worth a few bucks, maybe a couple hundred at most. Then they get it professionally graded. The result comes back. An almost flawless strike, a pristine mint luster finish, and a rare error combination. Suddenly, their life shifts in a moment. Wealth they never imagined. Security they never expected. A decision that could change generations. At this point, you might be feeling a mix of excitement and maybe even frustration. You might be thinking, why haven't I checked every old coin I own? Or, what if the one I need is somewhere in my home right now? That urgency you feel isn't accidental because this coin is still out there. And every day someone else finds one, your chances decrease. You know how people say opportunity doesn't knock twice? Well, in this case, opportunity doesn't knock at all. It quietly sits in a drawer, waiting to be recognized. And the clock is ticking. What makes the high-value 1995 D penny especially desirable is the combination of rarity and condition. A coin like this must be nearly flawless. Sharp lines, clear details, untouched surfaces, and ideally an error that sets it apart. And when collectors compete for the best of the best, the price climbs fast. That's how it reaches valuations like $995,000. If you're imagining what you could do with that kind of money, you're not alone. Pay off your mortgage, retire early, invest, travel, or maybe finally live the version of your life you always wanted but never gave yourself permission to pursue. But here's the key. None of that is possible if you don't look. So if you haven't yet, search your old coin jars. Dig through boxes in the attic. Check the pocket of that winter coat you haven't worn in 10 years. Because these coins show up exactly where people believe nothing valuable exists. And you might be thinking, okay, but what if I don't find one? Well, here's the beautiful truth. Rare coins are more common than you think. If the 1995 D penny doesn't turn up, something else might. Once you start looking, you open a door to an entirely new world of opportunity. People who take action find results. People who hesitate miss out. The difference between the two groups is tiny. Sometimes as tiny as a penny. It's easy to underestimate the power of small things. A single moment, a single decision, a single coin. Yet these are the things that change destinies. And as the story edges closer to its end, let me leave you with a cliffhanger your curiosity can't ignore. In the world of rare pennies, the 1995 D isn't the only coin capable of reaching 6 or even 7 figures. There are others, some even rarer, some hiding in plain sight. Coins that most people have touched and never realized their true worth. So the real question becomes, if a single penny can be worth nearly $1 million, what else is sitting unnoticed in your home right now? Search. Look closely. Stay curious. Because your next step might lead you to the kind of wealth most people only dream about. And the journey toward that wealthy lifestyle, one built on awareness, opportunity, and bold action, begins with a simple habit. Never ignore a penny again. Imagine reaching into an old jar of coins, the same one that's been sitting in your kitchen drawer for years, and discovering a single penny that could transform your entire financial future. A penny so rare, so valuable, that collectors are paying nearly $1 million for the right one. Sounds unbelievable, right? And yet, that's exactly what happened with the 1996 D Lincoln penny. Today, we're exploring why this unassuming 1-cent coin, minted in Denver, has quietly become one of the most shocking high-value discoveries in recent years, and why you might already have one sitting somewhere in your home, waiting to change your life. But let's slow down for a moment because stories like this don't happen by accident. A life-changing coin doesn't announce itself. It hides behind dirt, age, and ordinary appearances. And that's where the opportunity is, hidden in plain sight. The 1996 D penny was produced in enormous numbers, hundreds of millions of them. It was never expected to be rare, never expected to be special. It was created to circulate, to pass through hands without a second glance. Maybe you've already touched dozens of them in your life. Maybe you even have a few in a coffee can, a jar, or an old forgotten drawer. But here's the twist. While nearly all of these pennies are only worth 1 cent, a microscopic fraction, coins struck with unusual precision, coins preserved in perfect condition, coins carrying mysterious minting anomalies, have skyrocketed in value. One of these rare examples recently stunned the coin-collecting world with a breathtaking price nearing $996,000. Yes, a penny approaching $1 million. And yes, viewers like you are discovering that these ultra-rare coins can turn up in the most unexpected places. If that doesn't give you a little jolt of excitement, check your pulse. Now, before we get into what makes the 1996 D penny so valuable, picture this. Imagine taking that penny to a dealer who stares at it, pauses, and says, "Do you know what you have here?" You'd immediately feel a rush of adrenaline. That moment of uncertainty. Is it good news? Bad news? A trick? A mistake? That blend of fear and hope is exactly what happens when a coin has the potential to be life-changing. Collectors aren't just paying for metal. They're paying for rarity, perfection, and history. But with the 1996 D penny, they're paying for something even more powerful, a combination of anomalies, minting precision, and near-flawless preservation that, in the right conditions, elevates this everyday coin into elite territory. So what makes one of these pennies worth almost $1 million? It comes down to condition, errors, and survival. For a 1996 D penny to reach these astronomical heights, it must be virtually untouched. No scratches, no circulation marks, no discoloration. A coin that looks like it teleported straight from the mint press into a collector's hands. Out of hundreds of millions made, only a microscopic fraction survived in that kind of condition. Think of it like finding a brand new car from 1996 with 0 miles. You'd stare at it wondering how it even exists. And then, of course, there are the rare mint errors. Off-center strikes, double dies, misaligned dies, and the elusive high-grade anomalies that the market is aggressively hunting right now. If you've ever thought a tiny mistake couldn't be worth much, well, your opinion may change when that mistake brings you a 6- or 7-figure payday. But here's where the urgency sets in. Right now, this moment, the market for rare pennies is on fire. Collectors are competing harder than ever. Investors are turning to rare coins as alternative assets, and ordinary people across the country are discovering that their old pocket change can be worth more than their car, their savings account, or in some cases, their annual income. The window for these high-dollar sales doesn't stay open forever. When the demand is hot, owners win. When the market cools, missed opportunities become painful regrets. And nothing hurts quite like realizing you had a fortune sitting in your home, but never checked. Maybe that's happening to someone right now. Maybe someone watching this has a 1996 D penny in pristine condition but doesn't recognize what it really is. Maybe someone has one with a rare minting flaw and has no idea that collectors would pay hundreds of thousands for it. Imagine finding out 5 years later, after the market calms down, after prices drop, after the heat fades, that your penny was worth close to $1 million in 2025 or 2026, but you didn't sell it. That's the kind of fear that motivates action. And action is exactly what turns hidden potential into real wealth. So yes, the 1996 D penny is rare. Yes, it has sold for nearly $1 million. But the deeper story is what it represents. The possibility that your financial turning point isn't in a bank, or a business, or an investment, but inside something as small as a 1-cent coin you've overlooked for decades. Isn't it fascinating how life sometimes hides opportunity in the places we'd least expect? The universe has a sense of humor. It places million-dollar chances inside copper-plated zinc discs we toss into tip jars. And speaking of humor, isn't it funny how we protect our phone screens with tempered glass, but we throw pennies around like they're invincible? Yet one pristine penny could pay for your dream home. Maybe it's time we start treating pennies with more respect. But let's bring this story closer to your life. Because this isn't just about a rare coin, it's about what that coin can do for you. Picture paying off your debt. Picture funding a business you've always wanted to start. Picture taking your family on the vacation they've deserved for years. Picture retiring early not because you got lucky, but because you paid attention. Wealth doesn't always come from effort alone. Sometimes it comes from awareness, from curiosity, from taking 5 minutes to look through your old jars, boxes, and drawers. The best part? You don't need to be an expert. You don't need a magnifying glass, a certificate, or a decade of experience. You just need to look. The coin collectors and dealers can do the rest. But only after you discover what you already have. And here's something few people realize. Most life-changing coins weren't found by collectors. They were found by ordinary individuals. Teachers, mechanics, office workers, single parents, retirees. People who didn't expect anything, but decided to look anyway. People who thought, what if? That 2-word question has rebuilt fortunes, restored hope, and transformed lives. But don't relax just yet, because here's the cliffhanger that keeps coin hunters awake at night. Even experts don't know exactly how many of these rare 1996 D pennies are still out there. Some believe only 1 or 2 high-grade examples remain undiscovered. Others believe dozens are still sitting unnoticed among everyday change. No one knows the truth, and that uncertainty is exactly what makes the hunt so electrifying. You could be holding a penny worth $50, $5,000, or nearly $1 million, and the only way to find out is to check. So keep this in mind. The next time you find a 1996 D penny, don't dismiss it. Don't toss it into a vending machine. Don't let it disappear into another jar. Look at it carefully. Examine its shine, its edges, its details. You might just be staring at a treasure disguised as pocket change. This is your moment not just to learn, but to act. To take control of your financial future in a way most people overlook. To turn curiosity into opportunity. To turn 1 cent into a life of abundance. Wealth doesn't always knock loudly. Sometimes it whispers through something as small as a penny. And today, that whisper might just be speaking directly to you. Because the next $1 million discovery could already be in your hands. Imagine reaching into an old jar of coins, the kind that's been sitting on a shelf for years, and pulling out a single penny that could change your life. Not a gold coin, not a rare artifact from ancient history, but a simple, modern Lincoln penny minted in 2006 at the Denver Mint. A coin you've probably held in your hand 1,000 times without ever knowing its true potential. Yet today, a 2006 D. Lincoln penny has shocked collectors by reaching a current market value of $206,000, with experts predicting rare examples could climb into the millions. Hard to believe. That's exactly what makes this story so powerful. Welcome back. Today, we're diving into the mystery of an ordinary-looking coin that hides an extraordinary opportunity, one that many Americans unknowingly have sitting in a drawer, a coffee can, or a forgotten purse right now. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why this coin is commanding such life-changing prices, how to identify the ones worth 6 or even 7 figures, and why time is running out to take advantage of this rare moment in the coin market. Because while most people will scroll past videos like this, you're here, and smart collectors know knowledge is the real currency of wealth. It all begins with a simple question. How does a modern 1-cent coin become so valuable? The answer is not luck or coincidence. It's about scarcity, mistakes made at the mint, and a perfect storm of timing, demand, and a new generation of collectors who are driving prices into territory no one expected. Some call it a fluke. Others call it opportunity. And if you're holding on to old pennies, this might be one of the most profitable stories you'll ever hear. The Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of pennies in 2006. At first glance, there's nothing remarkable about them. The color is familiar, the design is classic, the weight is ordinary. But hidden within that massive production run are a few coins that defy expectation. Coins struck with rare errors, unusual die varieties, and minting anomalies that transform them from 1-cent pieces into assets worth more than a luxury car, a down payment on a home, or even an early retirement fund. Here's where the story shifts. Not every collector knew what to look for. Not every dealer understood the unusual die states appearing that year. And for over a decade, these coins slipped quietly into circulation. People spent them at gas stations, dropped them into tip jars, and tossed them into grocery store self-checkout machines without ever realizing the small fortune sitting in their palm. Meanwhile, a handful of sharp-eyed collectors started noticing something strange. Coins that looked slightly different, coins with doubling, coins with strike irregularities, coins with unexpected patterns in the plating. And soon, the value began to climb. You might be wondering, how on earth does a 1-cent coin reach $206,000? Let me ask you this. Have you ever thrown away something that later turned out to be valuable? A childhood toy? A trading card? Maybe a piece of jewelry? If so, you understand how painful it feels to miss a chance. Now imagine that feeling multiplied by 200,000. That's what's happening right now with these pennies. Collectors today are hunting aggressively for the rare 2060 examples with dramatic mint errors, off-center strikes, double dies, die breaks, and other anomalies that slipped through quality control. In the world of numismatics, errors aren't mistakes. They're miracles. And when a modern penny shows an error dramatic enough, well-preserved enough, and scarce enough, its value can skyrocket overnight. That's exactly what has happened with the top-graded specimens of this coin, pushing their market value to $206,000 and fueling speculation that the next discovery could break into the million-dollar tier. The fear of missing out is very real. For every person examining old change, there are thousands who still don't realize what they're sitting on. And here's the twist that should make every viewer sit forward. The rarest versions of the 2060 penny look almost normal. They don't scream for attention. They don't glow in the dark. They don't whisper, "I'm worth a fortune." Instead, they often appear humble, subtle, with tiny details that only reveal themselves under light. Doubling on the lettering, a faint misalignment, a break in Lincoln's coat, or a distortion at the rim. And this is exactly where the excitement begins to build. Because now you're thinking, what if you already have one? What if it's in your car's cup holder? What if it's in a stack of pennies your kids brought home from school as loose change? Opportunities like this don't come often, and when they do, skeptics always insist it's too good to be true. Right until the moment someone else collects the reward. The rise in value isn't random. Recently, the coin market has surged with new buyers, investors, and wealth seekers entering the field. They're not just hobbyists. They're entrepreneurs, collectors with high-income portfolios, and individuals looking to diversify their assets. In uncertain financial times, rare physical items with limited supply become incredibly attractive. And the 2060 penny is becoming one of the most talked about modern rarities in the United States. But the real turning point came when high-grade error examples were certified by leading grading companies and sold for staggering prices. Once that happened, the market woke up. Coins that were once ignored suddenly became high-demand treasures. And stories began to circulate, someone finding one in a coin roll, another discovering one in a relative's collection, one man claiming he found an unusual 2006 penny inside a jar that had been in his garage since 2010. Whether these stories are exaggerated or completely true almost doesn't matter. They ignite excitement and create urgency, pushing collectors to search harder, faster, now. And here's the cliffhanger you've been waiting for. We haven't even touched on the most valuable varieties yet, the most dramatic double-die versions, the most severe off-center strikes, the coins with blister-like plating anomalies so unique that grading experts themselves paused before assigning them authentication. These are the coins that cross the line from valuable to legendary. Coins so rare that experts believe fewer than a handful exist in top condition. Coins that, if discovered today, could realistically fetch over $1 million. But here's the uncomfortable truth: these coins are disappearing. Every year, more damaged pennies enter circulation. More coins get scratched, bent, corroded, or lost. The supply of high-quality examples is shrinking fast. And while new discoveries still happen, they become more unlikely with each passing day. So the question becomes urgent. Will you be the one who finds the next 5 or 6-figure penny, or will someone else beat you to it? Imagine, for a moment, holding a coin that completely reshapes your financial reality. Think about the relief of paying off debt, upgrading your home, investing in your future, or simply experiencing the comfort of knowing you've made a smart, strategic decision. Wealth doesn't always arrive in the form of a paycheck or a business investment. Sometimes it's already in your possession, you just haven't recognized it yet. And that's why understanding this coin is so important. The average person will never take the time to learn, to look carefully, or to seize opportunities when they appear. Most people assume pennies are worthless. But the people who build wealth, they think differently. They question, they examine, they stay curious. They know that fortunes are built not only on hard work, but on awareness. As we move toward the close of our journey, consider this: the 2060 penny is not just a coin. It symbolizes a shift, proof that hidden wealth exists in everyday life for those who pay attention. It represents the idea that small things can create big change, that overlooked details can lead to extraordinary outcomes, and that life-changing opportunities often rest right at your fingertips. Before you rush off to check your coin jars, and you will, remember one thing: the people who win in this space are the ones who act. They research, they learn, they sell at the right time. They recognize that the market for rare modern coins is rising today, not tomorrow. And those who hesitate risk watching others collect the rewards. Take a closer look at your coins. Search with purpose, because the next $1,000 discovery, the next $100,000 rarity, or even the next $1 million penny could be sitting in your home at this very moment. And when you find it, your story will become the next one that collectors around the world can't stop talking about. Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old jar of coins, and realizing one tiny copper-colored penny could change the rest of your life. Sounds impossible, right? But what if I told you that an ordinary-looking 2013 Lincoln penny with no mint mark has already shocked collectors by selling for a staggering $213,000, and some rare specimens are projected to be worth millions? Before you laugh it off, remember, every life-changing discovery in history started as something small that most people ignored. The only real question is, will you be the one who pays attention before everyone else does? Today, we're diving deep into the hidden value, the mystery, and the unbelievable financial upside of the 2013 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. And if you've ever dreamed of turning a simple pocket find into generational wealth, stay with me, because you're about to learn exactly how people like you are doing it. It's fascinating how something as tiny as a 1-cent coin can create so much excitement. Maybe you've held thousands of these pennies without giving them a second thought. Maybe right now, there's a voice in your head whispering, "What if I've touched a fortune and didn't even realize it?" Don't worry. That's the same voice countless collectors heard right before they uncovered the kind of luck most people only talk about. The story of this coin begins like every great story, quietly, almost invisibly. In 2013, the US Mint produced billions of Lincoln pennies. They were common, forgettable, everyday coins. But hidden within that enormous production run were a handful of extraordinary errors and rare striking anomalies, unintentional genetic mutations in the world of currency, that turned a 1-cent coin into an asset worth more than most people's cars, homes, or even retirement savings. Some of these rare 2013 pennies show doubling on the date, distortions on Lincoln's profile, dramatic die cracks, or striking misalignments that only happen once in millions of coins. And here's the twist. Because the Philadelphia Mint does not mark these coins with a mint letter, the no-mint mark might make it seem ordinary. But that's exactly what makes it so easy to overlook. The most valuable treasures are often the ones hiding in plain sight. Collectors discovered early examples of these rare errors, and auction houses were stunned when a single high-grade specimen crossed the bidding floor at over $213,000. That's the moment experts realized something massive. The supply of known high-grade errors was astonishingly small, and the demand was rising fast. If you're wondering how a penny reaches 6 figures, remember this: when rarity meets desire, markets explode. And if a few more pristine examples surface, some experts believe the right coin could push into the million-dollar category. Think about that. A penny worth more than a luxury home. But here's where the real urgency comes in. These opportunities don't stay open forever. Once collectors and investors rush in, and trust me, the window for life-changing finds starts to close. It's the same pattern we've seen with rare sports cards, vintage watches, even early comic books. The people who hesitated missed out. And the people who acted early, well, they remember those moments for the rest of their lives. So what makes this coin so special? It's not just scarcity. It's the mystery surrounding what errors are still out there waiting to be discovered. Most 2013 pennies were never inspected at all. They were spent, tossed, circulated, and buried in drawers. Right now, sitting in pockets, purses, and coin jars across the country, there are potentially undiscovered high-grade errors worth 6 figures or more. Maybe even the first specimen that breaks the million-dollar mark. What if one of them is already in your home? It's funny how we search the world for opportunity, but sometimes the opportunity is literally rattling around in a coffee can in our kitchen. Of course, the key to unlocking wealth from these coins is knowledge. You don't need to be a lifelong collector. You don't need expensive tools. You simply need to know what to look for. Search for doubling on the numbers in the date. Inspect Lincoln's eye, ear, and jawline for distortions. Check the lettering above "In God We Trust" for shadowing. Look for cracks running across the coin like tiny lightning bolts. Even off-center strikes, where the coin looks slightly shifted, can be worth a fortune. And here's a humorous but painfully true fact. People toss error coins into tip jars every day without noticing. Don't be one of them. As you study these coins, you'll start noticing something powerful. It's not just the excitement of the hunt. It's the feeling of control, of realizing that wealth doesn't always come from a paycheck or an investment portfolio. Sometimes it comes from curiosity, patience, and the courage to believe that even ordinary things can hide extraordinary value. And if you think about it, that's a pretty good metaphor for life. Now, let's address the fear that many people feel when they start learning about rare coins. The fear of missing out. The fear of looking back one day and saying, "I had those pennies. I saw them every day, and I never knew what I was holding." But fear can either freeze you or fuel you. And in this moment, it should fuel you, because the advantage is still yours. The opportunity is still alive. And the only person who decides whether you act on it is you. Every collector who discovered a 6-figure penny started with the same simple question you're thinking now. Why not me? Why shouldn't you be the next person to find one of these rare 2013 errors? Why shouldn't you be the one to turn a cent into $100,000 or more? After all, the only difference between those who find incredible coins and those who don't is that the successful ones actually looked. As you examine your coins, you'll want to keep an eye out for condition as well. High-grade examples, those that haven't been scratched, worn down, or damaged, command the highest prices. Coins graded MS67 or higher are the true golden tickets, the ones that can crack into 6 or even 7 figures depending on the error. You don't need to be an expert grader. You simply need to recognize when a coin looks clean, sharp, and crisp. If a 2013 penny looks suspiciously perfect, don't ignore it. That little glow you see might just be the shine of opportunity. And here comes a moment you don't want to miss. Because while rarity and condition are critical, there's one more factor that could send this coin skyrocketing even further: market momentum. Right now, collectors are racing to acquire modern era coins before the population reports tighten. Once the supply is fully documented, the values of already discovered high-end pennies could surge. That means the price of a $213,000 coin today might be a tiny fraction of what it sells for tomorrow. Imagine telling someone in 2030 that you found a 6-figure penny in your house and didn't keep searching. They'd probably laugh or cry for you. And this brings us to the biggest cliffhanger of all. We still don't know how many of these rare 2013 pennies exist. No one does. Maybe there are only a handful left. Maybe there's one coin sitting somewhere that will rewrite the record books. Maybe that coin finds its way into your hands tonight, tomorrow, or the moment you decide to start looking. Isn't it wild how your entire financial future could hinge on something as small as one moment of curiosity? But here's what we do know. You have absolutely nothing to lose by checking your pennies, and everything to gain. That's why so many people are diving into this world right now. Not just for the money, but for the thrill, the discovery, the chance to rewrite their own story. And if there's one thing millionaires have in common, it's that they never ignore a small opportunity. Because small opportunities lead to big outcomes. So before you end your night, take a moment to look through your spare change. Search your drawers, your car, your jars, your old coat pockets. Every penny you pick up could be the moment your story changes. Every coin could be the start of something much bigger. And somewhere out there, the next record-breaking 2013 penny is waiting for the person bold enough to find it. Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into a forgotten drawer, and realizing that the 1-cent coin you tossed aside years ago is now worth more than most luxury cars. Sounds unreal, right? Yet this is exactly what's happening with a rare variety of the 2021 Denver minted Lincoln penny. A coin that, despite being modern, ordinary, and produced by the millions, has shocked collectors with staggering values reaching up to millions of dollars, with verified market sales hitting an astonishing $221,000. Yes, a penny worth a small fortune. And today you're about to learn why. But be warned, the world of rare coins isn't just fascinating, it's fast-moving. The window of opportunity doesn't stay open for long. While many people scroll past these stories thinking they're myths, others quietly turn pocket change into life-changing wealth. Which group do you want to belong to? Before we dive deeper, take a moment to look around your home, your car, your jars of spare change. Because after this, you may never look at a penny the same way again. The story of the 2021 Lincoln penny begins in a place of complete normalcy. It was the kind of year where coins were almost invisible to most people, digital payments were taking over, and small change felt outdated. But beneath that sense of routine, something unexpected was brewing inside the Denver Mint. Amid normal production runs, a tiny number of coins slipped out with extraordinary characteristics, errors, anomalies, and striking qualities that set them apart from the millions produced that year. Some came out with doubled features that make Lincoln's profile look almost ghostly. Others display off-center strikes that give the coin a surreal, artistic look. A few show die cracks that look like lightning bolts running through the metal. They're rare, dramatic, and highly sought after. Think of it like accidentally printing a dollar bill with 2 serial numbers overlapping. Except on a coin that costs 1 cent. Now here's where it gets interesting. Because the coin is from 2021, people assume it can't be valuable. And that assumption is costing American families fortunes. Collectors don't judge rarity by age, they judge it by scarcity, quality, and demand. And high-grade examples of the 2021 penny with unique mint errors are among the most aggressively chased modern coins in the hobby today. But how rare are these? Picture a football stadium filled with pennies. Now imagine only 2 or 3 of them having the characteristics collectors dream about. That's the level of rarity we're dealing with. In auctions, these tiny metal miracles have sparked bidding wars. One moment, a collector places a reasonable bid. The next, a wave of excitement sweeps through the room, and prices shoot up past 6 figures. You can almost hear the audience whispering, "It's just a penny, right?" Well, apparently not anymore. But why would someone pay $221,000 or more for a coin that cost 1 cent to produce? The answer is simple. Perfection mixed with rarity creates value. Collectors chase what they cannot easily have. They want the best, the rarest, the most unusual. A 2021 D penny graded near perfect with a dramatic mint error isn't just a coin. It's a trophy, a status symbol, a physical piece of history that represents winning against impossible odds. And here's the part that catches most people off guard. These coins are still circulating. They're out there, in your change from the gas station, in a forgotten piggy bank, in a cup holder of a car you don't even drive anymore. People are unknowingly spending small fortunes every single day. Imagine handing someone $200,000 disguised as a penny. Sounds like the beginning of a comedy skit, except it's real, and it's happening as collectors scramble to find the next high-grade treasure. The market continues to heat up, prices climb, demand surges, and stories appear of everyday people discovering life-changing finds. A retired veteran, a single mother, a postal worker, each finding a modern penny that turned into a major financial win. These stories aren't just inspirational. They're reminders that opportunity doesn't knock politely. Sometimes, it jingles quietly in your pocket. Now, before you rush to empty every drawer you've ever owned, and you absolutely should, you need to know what to look for. The most valuable 2021 D pennies typically include dramatic doubling on the date, on Lincoln's eye, or on the motto. Some have off-center strikes that visually pop from first glance. Others have major die breaks, cuds, or retained interior die cracks that look like raised ridges or chunks of metal on the coin's surface. And of course, the condition matters. A coin that looks like it survived a washing machine is not going to command 6 figures. The gems, the ones that reach stratospheric prices, are the coins preserved so well you'd think they came straight from a time capsule. And here comes the cliffhanger most viewers don't expect. Even more valuable errors may still be undiscovered. The Denver Mint produced billions of coins that year. Only a tiny fraction have been examined. That means the rarest versions may still be sitting unrecognized in someone's home. Maybe yours. Maybe a relative's. Maybe someone who has no idea that a penny they've ignored for 3 years could fund a new car, a home renovation, or even early retirement. The real question is, will you take the time to look? Because this is where the story transforms from curiosity into opportunity. The market for modern rare coins is expanding quickly. Collectors who once focused only on older dates are now aggressively buying rare modern errors at rising prices. There's fear in the market too, not fear of losing money, but fear of missing out. Fear of realizing that someone else found a 6-figure coin because they took 2 minutes to check, while others didn't bother. But alongside the fear comes excitement, especially when people understand that the next big discovery could be made by someone with no numismatic background at all. Someone who simply paid attention. Someone who didn't overlook the smallest details. And that brings us to this thought. Why do so many people chase wealth in complicated, exhausting ways when sometimes the path to a major financial breakthrough is sitting in plain sight? Investing in education, staying aware of collectible markets, and taking action is what separates the average from the extraordinary. So picture this. You holding a small copper-plated coin, realizing it's worth more than the car in your driveway, more than the down payment on a home, more than some people's entire retirement accounts, and all because you took the time to learn what others ignored. But this story isn't over yet, because the final twist is coming, and it's the part that should light a fire under anyone who wants to build wealth. Values are still rising. The 2021 D Lincoln penny hasn't peaked. Collectors anticipate new record sales. And the people who benefit the most are the ones who take action early. So here's your moment. Before you move on with your day, check your coins. Search your old jars. Ask relatives if they have spare change lying around. You never know which penny may change your financial future. And who knows, you might be holding the next one worth not just $221,000, but possibly even more. The kind of more that turns ordinary lives into extraordinary ones. Because sometimes the smallest things make the biggest impact. And sometimes a penny is worth far more than people think.